Hi, it's Bram Duffee. Welcome back to speech class where we're talking about listening. This is the listening video. And at the start of the listening video, I want to talk about the assignment for week 4, where you're going to be critiquing another student's speech. And for that, I listed in the instructions to just watch this video right away, so that way we can give you the lowdown. I gave some instructions on how to do the process, but let me just talk you through what the plan is. On week 1, if you remember, we have a speech evaluation rubric. It looks something like this. And the speech evaluation rubric is set up so that you can find the important parts about a speech so that you can evaluate them. And so I'm going to ask you to go to week 1 and print that out on paper form so that you can take that paper and write on the paper to evaluate the speech that you're going to evaluate. All right, so the first thing is to print this out and have it ready. The second thing is that I want you to go to YouTube and go to the videos section and just type in the words sample student speeches. So sample student speech. What you'll find from sample student speech is that people have been doing public speaking classes since before I was born, and they've been videotaping them not that long, but almost. And so you'll have an opportunity to find students who do speeches from all over about all kinds of stuff. And I want to give you an opportunity to choose one of those speeches, and the speeches that are going to be the most compatible with our class, that line up the best, are going to be ones that are going to be informative speeches. So they might even be listed that way, informative speech or demonstration speech. So you're going to be looking for a YouTube video that's about 3 to no more than 7-10 minutes long. And that video that's about 7 minutes long is going to be a student presentation that is informative or a demonstration. So you might type in demonstration sample student speech or informative sample student speech. And then you can see how long they are before you even click on them to look through them. So then you're going to watch that speech and critique it. And what I'm going to ask you to do is critique it on the form. And the form has different options or different pieces set up where there's an introduction and different elements I'm asking for in the introduction. And the same thing with the body and the conclusion and the delivery components. So those same components, I'm going to be evaluating you. You're going to be evaluating other students. And so this is the first step in our practice to get there. So I want to be able to have you do all of this in the end. So you're going to watch the video and critique it. And you'll see on here that there's a key. So if an element is there, it gets a plus symbol. And if it's adequate, then you get a check mark. And if it's not there, you give them a minus sign. So in the introduction, for example, the first thing that we ask you to evaluate, it says, the introduction begins with an effective attention-getting device. So if the introduction was effective in getting your attention, then, and of course is relevant, right? So if it was effective, then you would give it a plus. If it was an introduction that was sort of there but didn't make sense, or an introduction that did get your attention but didn't connect, that's going to get a check mark, like for being adequate. So a plus symbol is there, an adequate symbol is a check mark, and if it's not there at all, that they don't do a effective attention-getting introduction, then they get a minus sign. So that is how we go through the speech when we think about it. And I also have a place for you to put notes while you're doing the evaluation. But you want to be able to post this completed worksheet to your discussion post. And then on that same post, you're going to submit a link so that I can see which, and the student, everyone in the class can too. You're going to submit this attached with a link also that will bring us to the video, followed by your 3-paragraph analysis. And what you'll do in the 3-paragraph analysis is talk through these elements, right? So we know the parts of a speech. We talked about those in week 3, and we've been able to prepare to start developing our own parts of speech. And so as this continues, what we're doing this time is critiquing a speech of another. So all of those pieces are going to be on one post. So again, you will post the speech rubric that's completed, and in the same post, just start out your 3-paragraph analysis with a link. And that way, myself and all of us get this all at once. And then your classmates will be able to respond to your post, and you'll respond to their posts. And I just want to do a reminder, because I've had some folks that have missed out. The post for the initial discussion is due on Thursday night before we turn into Friday morning, so that's Thursday night at midnight. And then the follow-up discussion points should be done, or posts should be done during the weekend time, right? So Sunday night before it turns into Monday, so that Sunday night, midnight, is when those follow-up class conversation posts are required. So that's the stuff to remind you about for how this is going to work. And basically, you're going to find the video on YouTube. And I appreciate you hanging in with this multi-part assignment, but this is how we do deep activities together in our class, so that we can learn and get there together with how we're evaluating others. So now that we're talking about evaluating others, I want us to dig into listening, the topic. And this is what we have for chapter 4 this week. And so listening does have a critical role as it relates to public speaking. And I want you to imagine that a successful communication is like a game of catch. And the speaker throws the ball, the listener catches it. But it's not just about throwing and catching, because it's a continuous game. It's one that goes back and forth. And that's how communication works. And it even works that way in public speaking. There is a constant exchange between the one who's talking and the one who's listening. And let me tell you why listening is more than just hearing what others have to say. Listening has several key functions. For starters, it helps us understand the world, which can be as simple as learning how to bake a cake from your grandma's recipe. It allows us to evaluate information, like when a friend tells you about a movie and you decide to watch it. It gives a way to support each other. So imagine cheering up a friend who has had a rough day. And believe it or not, listening helps us enjoy sounds, just the same way that we think about our favorite songs. So, did you know that people who are good at listening are usually rock stars in other areas of their life? These listeners are powerful people, and they often do better at work and school and solving problems, detective stuff, and the superhero aspects to this are pretty amazing. And it's all because of participating in this thing that we call active listening. And it means that they're super focused and engaging when someone else, or engaged, when someone else is talking. And you may not realize this, but listening is actually a thing that you do most when you're studying in college or working on a job. It's what you do more frequent than more than writing and reading or even speaking yourself. But there's a difference between hearing and listening, because hearing is just the sound entering your ears. It happens like normal, natural stuff. But when your ears pick up the ding of a text message, is that hearing or is that listening, right? Listening is when you really tune in. It's like the detective listens for clues. What makes sense of what we hear? And the kicker, though, is that we don't listen to everything. It's called selective perception. And You know how during lunchtime at school you hear like people everywhere around, but you mostly would pay attention to the people that you're interacting with, or the stories that are being told. So you have the ability to zoom in and hear something that's going on at another table, and then zoom in back to the conversation at your table. That's selective perception in action. And we focus on things that matter to us. That's how we are as humans. And it's all driven by our interests, values, attitudes, and our beliefs. So if we naturally tune out stuff, how do we become better listeners? So if you're trying to listen, try to keep an open mind. And if you're speaking, think about your talk as if it's a bridge working to connect with the audience. And I know it seems like that it's not just one person in the room. We're talking to a few people or a group of people, but it is the same thing. We don't just throw words at them. We are talking to them. And so active listening doesn't just happen when we're surrounded by distractions. And it happens because we work towards that. And active listening is just kind of like multitasking. These things don't go together. You can't multitask and be an active listener. It's like an oil or water kind of thing, and they don't really mix. And so trying to listen to someone while you're checking texts or listening to something else at the same time, it just doesn't work out. And so if you're at a party and you have a conversation with someone who's like trying to share their favorite adventure story, or trying to, figure out, what the best thing is going on in their deal while something else is going on, it means you're missing out on what they're trying to get to, because there's just so much that happens. And the solution is that we have to listen deeply. And so have you ever talked to someone and thought, oh my gosh, it's like not this story again from them? That's what we call defensive listening. And so you're deciding that you won't like what they're going to say, and you already know that better than them. That's what defensive listening is. And maybe you've already, passed that judgment. But the solution in that situation is kind of simple. You have to focus on why they love telling that tale, and maybe it reminds them of something. But we are defensive listeners when we prejudge what the person is going to say. And sometimes we can be defensive listeners in a way so that we can guide the conversation because of the expectations that we have. But as a listener in an audience, we don't have that same ability to do the full interaction. So it's important to take into account that if we don't have our guard down enough to be able to allow the messages to get through, then we aren't going to pay attention, and that is going to hamper the ability for us to share a message. So that's what is important when it comes to listening. And I am glad that we're able to share a talk about this. To become a super listener, there are some steps that you can take. Like, before the speaker starts, you can think about what you want to learn, maybe pre-read or map out what they're working on, or review the notes that you have. Number two, you can listen for big moments that help you follow the stories. Number three, watch how the speaker moves, their expressions, and how they put emotion to what they're saying. And number four, use your detective skills. Think critically about what's going on in the moment. Are they just giving you facts, or are they opinions? And then do these connect? And so remember, as listeners, we have to create a space where everybody feels comfortable sharing their ideas. And when evaluating speeches, we want to be honest and we want to be fair. So and at the same token, it's like looking at a person's style and looking at what they want to communicate, and look at how they're doing it. And so giving feedback, of course, should start with something positive, but at the same time, the type of feedback that we want to give has everything to do with making things better for them and what they're trying to accomplish. So anyway, I've got to talk about two different things today. I've talked about how it is that we're going to evaluate others' speeches. And then we've also talked about the art of listening and the importance of active listening, as we do this process and as we think about the things that are going on in the people's presentations. And the mix of these things will help you be a good evaluator of speeches. Now, why are you evaluating a speech and doing this evaluation stuff? The reason is because it's helping you learn these different parts of the speech, and it's helping you be able to see what it is that you are going to be judged and evaluated on and the way that it will happen. And so I look forward to your posts, and I look forward to furthering this discussion in that way on the discussion board this week. Thanks.